Welcome to Military Matters. I'm Desmon Farris. What's in a name? Robert E. Lee was a West Point graduate, the son of a Revolutionary War hero, a former superintendent of West Point, and a combat veteran of the Mexican War. He also led an armed insurrection against the United States to protect an institution which kept black human beings enslaved. Although he fought against the U.S. Army, the War Department named an Army base outside Petersburg, Virginia for him. Fort Lee is now the headquarters of two major commands and a museum. From Fort Hood, Texas to Fort A.P. Hill in Virginia, there are 10 major U.S. Army forts named for Confederate generals. After new demands for racial justice following the George Floyd protests, more and more Americans are asking why the U.S. Army continues to venerate men who fought against it. We have no Fort Benedict Arnold, although he once served in the Continental Army. So why Fort Lee, or Fort Bragg, or even Fort Hood? As a biracial Air Force veteran, half black and half white, this is an issue that's important to me as to millions of other people of color who have served, sometimes on garrisons named for men who tried to keep their ancestors enslaved. Now, the NAACP has long advocated for changing the names of military bases honoring Confederate soldiers. Their argument was that the battle flag glorifies treason and a hateful history of white supremacy and black subjugation. But most of these bases were established around the two world wars to train soldiers for combat overseas. Back then, the military was not so widely respected as it is today. So, to win a community's support, the War Department allowed local officials to pick the names. So, in the segregated South, that meant the decision was made by white supremacists, and they picked Confederate heroes. Now that social unrest and Black Lives Matter movements are working on making change in America, it has been brought to light things as a service member we unintentionally not recognize. Or is it that we choose not to see these things as they don't have a direct impact on our immediate situations? Could the reason base names matter in the military be different than to those who have not served? At the core, all of the services believe in and fight for honor and respect. Some of these men had complicated histories. Fort Gordon is named after one of Lee's corps commanders, General John B. Gordon. After the Civil War, Gordon became governor of Georgia and is believed to have been one of the founders of the Ku Klux Klan, even though he denied it. Fort Pickett is named for a general who fled to Canada for a couple of years because he worried he would be prosecuted for executing 27 Union soldiers in North Carolina. The subjugation and mistreatment of African Americans and the principles of the Confederacy are a direct contradiction to the values military service members uphold today. So why hold on to this legacy? This is why we're asking the question, what's in a name? Does the Confederate names of military installations bother you? Do you consider these men heroes or traitors? Do you have an opinion on this? I'd truly like to hear your thoughts on whether these names are a legacy, a tradition, or a continuous stain on the United States military's record. And speaking of the record, all these Confederates were pardoned a few years after the war. And President Ford went so far as to restore Lee's citizenship a century after his death. Pardoning someone is one thing. Honoring him is another. If this topic sparked a thought or a reaction in you, hit us up on our Twitter at StripesMMPod and leave us some feedback. Also, don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast. This is a crucial part of us reaching new listeners. Now, we'll be back in 2 more weeks with a whole new season of Military Matters. Until then, check out our earlier episodes from Season 1, where we talk about everything from marijuana and red flag laws to our in-depth coronavirus episode, where we talk to an emergency room doctor who predicted the national quarantine weeks before it happened. I'm Desmon Farris. Until next time, this was Military Matters.